The autumn wind whistled through the secure research facility nestled in the Rocky Mountains as Natasha Volkov made her final adjustments to the quantum resonance cannon. Her dark hair was pulled back in a messy bun, and her green eyes reflected the soft blue glow of the experimental weapon. As Earth's leading weapons researcher, she had devoted the last 5 years to developing defensive technology that could protect humanity from any threat, terrestrial or otherwise. Little did she know that threat was about to materialize sooner than anyone expected. The first signs came during a routine morning briefing. General Marcus Reynolds burst into the laboratory, his usually composed demeanor shattered. "Dr. Volkov, we've got visitors." "Not the usual kind." He handed her a tablet showing live footage from orbit. A sleek, silver vessel, unlike anything human engineering could produce, had entered Earth's atmosphere with unprecedented stealth. Within hours, the world's media exploded with news of first contact. The visitors called themselves the Arxians, a supposedly peaceful race seeking diplomatic relations with Earth. Their timing couldn't have been more suspicious, just as humanity had begun to make breakthrough advances in weapons technology. Calyx, the Arxian delegation's chief scientific advisor, cut an imposing figure. Standing 7 feet tall with silvery skin that seemed to shimmer in the light, he carried himself with an otherworldly grace. His official role was to facilitate technological exchange between the two species, but Natasha couldn't shake the feeling that his intense golden eyes held secrets. "Your work on quantum weaponry is fascinating, Dr. Volkov," Calyx said during their first meeting, his voice carrying a melodic undertone that seemed to resonate in her chest. "Our people have explored similar principles, though perhaps from a different perspective." Natasha maintained a professional smile while carefully choosing her words. "We're still in early stages of development. Most of our breakthroughs are theoretical at this point." The lie came easily. She had learned long ago that the best way to protect sensitive information was to downplay its importance. But as the weeks passed, the dance of deception became more complex. Calyx was assigned to work directly with Natasha's team, ostensibly to share Arxian insights into quantum mechanics. His brilliant mind and genuine curiosity made him an asset to the research, yet Natasha caught him more than once accessing restricted databases when he thought no one was watching. The situation grew more complicated when Natasha discovered unauthorized energy signatures emanating from the Arxian embassy late one night. Using specialized equipment of her own design, she detected quantum patterns eerily similar to those produced by her weapons research. Either the Arxians were already familiar with the technology, or they were stealing it. What troubled her most was her growing attraction to Calyx. Despite her suspicions, she found herself drawn to his intellectual depth and the moments of genuine wonder he showed when discovering something new about Earth's culture. During their late-night research sessions, their conversations would drift from weapons physics to philosophy, art, and the nature of existence itself. One evening, as they worked alone in the lab, Calyx's hand brushed against hers while reaching for a datapad. The contact sent an electric shock through her body, and for a moment, his carefully maintained composure slipped. In his eyes, she saw something that mirrored her own internal conflict, a battle between duty and desire. "There's so much about your species that fascinates me," he admitted softly. "Your resilience, your creativity, your capacity for both destruction and beauty." His words carried a weight that hinted at deeper meanings. Before Natasha could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. Security had detected an unauthorized data transfer from the quantum weapons server. As she rushed to her terminal, she caught a glimpse of Calyx's expression, a mixture of regret and determination that confirmed her worst fears. The game of cat and mouse was about to begin, but neither of them could have predicted how it would transform not only their lives but the future of both their species. As Natasha initiated emergency protocols and Calyx disappeared into the chaos, one question burned in her mind: how do you fight an enemy who's stolen not just your secrets, but potentially your heart as well? The facility remained in lockdown for 3 days following the data breach. Natasha barely slept, spending countless hours trying to trace the quantum signature of the stolen information while fielding increasingly tense calls from military leadership. The Arxian delegation maintained their innocence, claiming their systems had also been compromised by an unknown third party. Calyx hadn't returned to the lab since the incident, but his absence spoke volumes. Every time Natasha closed her eyes, she saw his face in that final moment, that flash of conflicted emotion that suggested there was more to the story than simple espionage. "We've tracked the data packet," announced Lieutenant James Foster, her chief of security, during an emergency briefing. It bounced through 17 different quantum relays before disappearing somewhere in the Kuiper belt. "The sophistication of the hack, it's unlike anything we've seen." Natasha stared at the holographic display showing the data's journey. "Because it's not human technology," she said quietly. "The quantum signatures match experimental tests we ran with Calyx last month. They used our own research against us." The revelation sent shockwaves through Earth's military command. Relations with the Arxians grew increasingly strained, though their diplomats continued to maintain a facade of cooperation. Behind closed doors, both sides began preparing for the possibility of conflict. Late one night, as Natasha was reviewing security footage for the 100th time, her private quantum communicator, a device she developed herself, activated with an unexpected signature. Her heart raced as she recognized the frequency pattern. "We need to talk," Calyx's voice emerged from the device, carrying none of its usual melodic quality. "Alone. There are things you don't understand." Every security protocol and rational thought screamed that this was a trap, but Natasha couldn't ignore the opportunity to get answers. She agreed to meet him at an abandoned observatory in the mountains, taking precautions to ensure she wasn't followed. The full moon cast an ethereal glow over the snow-covered peaks as Natasha approached the observatory. Calyx's tall figure emerged from the shadows, his silvery skin reflecting the moonlight. He looked different, troubled, almost haunted. "My people are dying," he began without preamble. "Our sun is entering a phase that will make our home world uninhabitable within a decade. We need Earth's quantum technology not for weapons, but for planetary defense." Natasha's hand stayed close to her concealed sidearm. "Why not just ask for help? Why the deception?" "Politics," Calyx spat the word like it was poison. "Our military leadership believes showing weakness to other species is too dangerous. They ordered us to steal the technology instead of risking a diplomatic solution that might expose our vulnerability." As he spoke, Natasha's quantum scanner detected multiple approaching signatures. "We've got company," she warned, drawing her weapon. "Your people?" "No," Calyx's expression darkened. "Rogue elements within both our governments. They want this situation to escalate into war." He moved protectively closer to her. "There are those among my people who believe conquering Earth would be simpler than negotiating for aid." The observatory erupted in chaos as armed figures, both human and Arxian, emerged from the darkness. Natasha and Calyx found themselves fighting side by side, her experimental quantum pistol complementing his advanced alien technology as they fought their way to safety. As they took cover behind a fallen pillar, Calyx grabbed her hand. The touch sent that same electric shock through her body, but this time she understood it wasn't just attraction. Arxians could share thoughts through physical contact. In a flash, she saw the truth of his words, images of his dying world, the desperate plans of his military, and his growing belief that cooperation, not conflict, was the only way forward. "I never meant to betray your trust," he said as weapons fire erupted around them. "But now we have to decide what's more important, our orders or preventing an interstellar war." Natasha squeezed his hand, her mind racing with possibilities. The quantum technology she'd developed could indeed be adapted to shield a planet. She'd actually considered such applications in her early research. But with hardliners on both sides pushing for war, finding a peaceful solution would require something more than just technical innovation. As dawn broke over the mountains, Natasha and Calyx made a pact. They would work together to expose the warmongers on both sides while finding a way to save his people without bloodshed. But first, they had to survive the night and escape those who would sacrifice two civilizations in the name of power and pride. The question was no longer whether they could trust each other, but whether they could outmaneuver those who would stop at nothing to ignite a war between their worlds. Dawn broke over the Rocky Mountains as Natasha and Calyx made their way through a network of maintenance tunnels beneath the research facility. Their escape from the observatory had left them with evidence of a conspiracy that went deeper than either had imagined, encrypted data crystals containing communications between corrupt officials on both sides. The Arxian Military Command has already launched Phase 2, Calyx explained as they reached a secure server room. His silvery skin bore scorch marks from their earlier firefight, but his golden eyes remained alert. They're positioning stealth satellites in orbit, capable of deploying quantum-based weapons. Natasha worked quickly to establish a secure connection to her private network. And I'm betting those weapons were built using the stolen data from our labs. She paused, fingers hovering over the holographic interface. The question is, who on Earth is helping them? Their answer came sooner than expected. The heavy blast doors suddenly sealed, and emergency lights flooded the room with harsh red illumination. Through the reinforced window, they spotted a familiar face, Director Thomas Wright, head of the Global Defense Initiative and Natasha's longtime mentor. "I had such hopes for you, Dr. Volkov," Wright's voice crackled through the intercom. "Your brilliant mind could have helped us achieve military supremacy. Instead, you choose to conspire with the enemy." "The only enemy here is war itself," Natasha shot back, her mind racing through possible escape routes. "The Arxians need help, not conquest. Their son is dying. Their weakness is our opportunity," Wright cut her off. "With their technology and our quantum weapons research, Earth could become the dominant force in this sector of the galaxy. The dying sun scenario? A convenient crisis we helped orchestrate." Calyx's expression darkened with rage. "You sabotaged our son? Billions will die. Sacrifices must be made for the greater good," Wright replied coldly. "Your people's desperation made them predictable. Easy to manipulate." As Wright monologued, Natasha had been quietly reprogramming the quantum resonance field around the server room. She grabbed Calyx's hand, sharing her plan through their touch-based telepathic connection. His eyes widened in understanding. "You're right about one thing, Director," Natasha called out. "The quantum research was brilliant." She activated her modified wrist device. "But did you ever wonder why I insisted on personally reviewing every safety protocol?" The quantum field surrounding them suddenly intensified, creating a localized phase shift. Alarms blared as the facility's systems detected the anomaly. In the confusion, Natasha and Calyx slipped through an emergency maintenance shaft, the quantum field rendering them temporarily out of sync with normal spacetime. They emerged in the facility's vehicle bay, where they encountered Lieutenant Foster. For a tense moment, he aimed his weapon at them. Then, surprisingly, he lowered it. "I intercepted some interesting communications after the observatory incident," Foster said, tossing Natasha a set of keys. "Someone had to stay honest in this mess. The black quantum rover in Bay 3 is fueled and ready. I'll buy you some time." As they sped away from the facility, Natasha's mind whirled with implications. If Wright helped orchestrate the crisis with your son, there must be a way to reverse it. "The technology exists," Calyx confirmed, reviewing data on his alien tablet. "But the solution requires both Arxian quantum mechanics and your weapons research, used for healing instead of destruction." Their rover wound through mountain roads as pursuit vehicles appeared on their scanners. Above, they detected the energy signatures of Arxian ships breaking through Earth's atmosphere. Time was running out. "We need to reach the secondary facility in Nevada," Natasha decided. "I have a backup of all my research there, including early studies on planetary-scale quantum fields. But we'll have to get past both human and Arxian forces to reach it. Calyx's hand found hers again, sharing not just thoughts but emotions, determination, trust, and something deeper neither of them dared name yet. Then we fight. Together. For both our worlds. The quantum rover's engines roared as they accelerated through a mountain pass. Behind them, Earth forces scrambled to intercept. Above, Arxian ships moved to cut off their escape. And somewhere ahead lay their only hope of preventing an interstellar war and saving billions of lives. What had started as a mission of espionage had evolved into something far more significant, a race against time to expose the truth and find a solution that could unite two civilizations instead of destroying them. As the sun set behind the mountains, casting long shadows across their path, Natasha and Calyx prepared for the most dangerous phase of their journey. Their pursuit would only get more desperate as both sides realized exactly what they were trying to achieve. The fate of two worlds now rested on their ability to reach Nevada, and their hope that love really could conquer not just space, but the darkness in both human and alien hearts. The Nevada desert stretched endlessly before them as Natasha guided the quantum rover through a maze of invisible sensor grids. The facility's location was known only to a handful of people, hidden beneath an abandoned mining operation. Dawn was approaching, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold that reminded her of Calyx's eyes. 3 Arxian interceptors closing from the north, Calyx announced, his fingers dancing across the holographic display. And 2 military helicopters from the east. They're coordinating their approach. Natasha activated the rover's quantum camouflage system, an experimental feature she'd installed months ago. We've got another problem. The facility's defense grid will target anything that approaches, friend or foe. We need to broadcast the shutdown codes, but they've likely been changed since Director Wright's betrayal, Calyx finished her thought. Their shared moments of mental connection had created a deep understanding between them. I might have a solution. Arxian ships use quantum entanglement for navigation. If I can synchronize it with your vehicle's systems. A burst of weapons fire from above interrupted his explanation. The interceptors had switched to infrared tracking, partially penetrating their camouflage. Natasha swerved as the desert sand turned to glass around them. Whatever you're planning, do it fast, she shouted, engaging the rover's defensive shields. The quantum field hummed dangerously as it absorbed the attacks. Calyx connected his biological interface directly to the rover's systems. Silver lines spread from his hands across the console, his technology merging with hers. The vehicle shuddered as 2 competing quantum fields aligned and then synchronized. Hold on, he warned. This will feel strange. The world around them shifted, colors inverting for a moment as they phased partially out of normal spacetime. The pursuing vehicles suddenly seemed to move in slow motion, their weapons fire passing harmlessly through the quantum-shifted rover. The effect won't last long, Calyx grimaced, clearly straining to maintain the field. The power requirements are exponential. They reached the facility's outer perimeter just as the quantum shift began to fail. Natasha transmitted a rapid sequence of codes, not to deactivate the defense grid, but to trigger a very specific response she'd programmed in secret. The ground beneath them split open as hidden panels retracted, revealing a steep ramp leading underground. They plunged into darkness just as their pursuers reached the perimeter. The defense grid activated, but instead of targeting their rover, it created a dome of quantum energy that trapped their attackers outside. Welcome to Project Sanctuary, Natasha said as they emerged into a vast underground chamber. My real research facility. The space was filled with advanced technology, a seamless blend of human ingenuity and reverse-engineered alien science. At its center stood a massive quantum core, pulsing with possibilities. This is incredible, Calyx breathed, taking in the sight. With this equipment, we could actually generate a sustainable quantum field large enough to stabilize a star. Before they could celebrate, the facility's AI announced multiple breaches at the upper levels. Wright had apparently planned for this contingency. His forces were cutting through the outer defenses. "We have maybe 20 minutes before they reach us," Natasha calculated, rushing to the main console. "I'll need to transfer the core research to a secure quantum drive. The formulas for stellar manipulation are encoded in my weapons research. I designed the weapons to be reversible, their principles capable of healing as well as harm." Calyx joined her at the console, their hands moving in perfect synchronization. "My people believed Earth's quantum technology was purely destructive. If they knew the truth." "That's exactly what Wright and his conspirators wanted to prevent," Natasha replied. "Peace doesn't profit arms dealers and war hawks." As they worked to extract the crucial data, the facility shook with the impact of heavy weapons. Through the security feeds, they watched as both human and Arxian forces breached the upper levels, each racing to reach them first. "Even if we get the data, we'll never make it past all of them," Calyx observed grimly. Natasha smiled, her fingers flying across the quantum interface. "Who said anything about going past them? This facility has one more secret." She pressed her palm to a hidden scanner, and a section of the wall silently retracted to reveal a prototype quantum portal. "I've been studying your people's transportation technology. Made a few improvements." The portal hummed to life, its event horizon rippling like liquid starlight. Through the security feeds, they could see Wright himself leading a team down the main corridor, while Arxian shock troops rappelled down an elevator shaft. "The portal's coordinates are set to the one place they won't expect, the Arxian High Council chamber itself," Natasha explained. "We'll bypass the military entirely and present our evidence directly to your civilian leadership." Calyx stared at her with a mixture of awe and concern. "If we fail, both our worlds will brand us as traitors. And if we succeed, we save two civilizations." Natasha took his hand, their thoughts and emotions flowing together through the contact. "Besides, I've grown rather fond of proving the impossible possible." The main doors began to glow red as cutting torches worked to breach them. With seconds to spare, Natasha and Calyx stepped through the portal, carrying with them the hopes of two worlds and proof that the greatest weapons could be transformed into tools of peace. As the quantum tunnel engulfed them, their joined hands anchored them in the chaos of interdimensional space. They had chosen their path, now they would face the consequences together, armed with truth, technology, and a love that transcended the boundaries of their species. The quantum portal deposited Natasha and Calyx in the heart of the Arxian capital ship, currently orbiting Earth's moon. The High Council chamber was a vast cathedral-like space, its crystalline walls shifting with patterns of light that reflected the members' emotions. 12 tall figures in ceremonial robes turned to face the intruders, their golden eyes widening in shock. "Forgive our dramatic entrance," Calyx announced in his native tongue, while maintaining physical contact with Natasha to share translation. "But we bring evidence of a conspiracy that threatens both our worlds." High Counselor Vex, her silvery skin bearing the intricate markings of ancient wisdom, rose from her seat. "Science Officer Calyx, you dare breach this sacred chamber? And with a human?" "We dare because the alternative is war." Natasha stepped forward, her voice steady. "Your military commanders, in conjunction with corrupt Earth officials, have orchestrated this entire crisis." Before they could present their evidence, emergency signals blared throughout the chamber. Multiple quantum portals burst open. From one emerged Director Wright and his tactical team, from another came Arxian military forces led by Commander Rixon, Calyx's superior. Perfect timing, Wright's voice dripped with satisfaction. Now the High Council can witness firsthand how humans and Arxians deal with traitors. Rixon's towering form advanced, his battle armor gleaming. The human speaks of conspiracy, yet she and Calyx are the ones who've conspired to weaken both our species. Natasha squeezed Calyx's hand, transferring a quick plan through their connection. In one fluid motion, she activated her quantum interface while he channeled his biological technology. The chamber's crystalline walls responded to their combined input, suddenly projecting their gathered evidence for all to see. The truth unfolded in stark detail: records of Wright and Rickson's collaboration, proof of their manufactured crisis, and the deliberate sabotage of the Arxian sun using stolen quantum technology. But most importantly, it showed Natasha's original research, demonstrating how the same principles could be used to heal their dying star. "You see only weakness in cooperation," Natasha addressed both Wright and Rickson, "but together, our species could achieve things neither could manage alone. Your weapons could become tools of creation." High Counselor Vex studied the projections intently. "These human quantum formulae, they're unlike anything in our archives. Because they're based on a fundamental truth both sides forgot," Calyx explained. "The universe doesn't distinguish between creation and destruction, only our intentions define how we use its power." Wright's forces and Rickson's soldiers had their weapons trained on Natasha and Calyx, waiting for orders. The chamber crackled with tension as centuries of mistrust collided with the possibility of a different future. Natasha released Calyx's hand and stepped forward, her voice carrying across the chamber. "Right now, Earth's quantum weapons are primed to fire on your ships. And your stealth platforms are targeting our cities. We stand at a precipice, but it's not too late to step back." "The human speaks truth," Vex announced, her ancient eyes seeing beyond the immediate conflict. "Our laws are clear: when presented with evidence of corruption in our highest ranks, the Council must act." Wright sneered, raising his weapon. "Then we'll do this the hard way." What happened next seemed to unfold in slow motion. Wright and Rickson gave simultaneous orders to fire, but their troops hesitated, the weight of the moment sinking in. In that split second, Natasha activated her final failsafe, a localized quantum field that temporarily neutralized all energy weapons in the chamber. "Enough!" Vex's voice thundered with authority. "Guards, detain Commander Rickson and the Earth conspirators. The Council has seen enough." As Wright and Rickson were taken into custody, Natasha brought up the stellar reformation calculations on the chamber's walls. "We can begin implementing the solution immediately. Earth's quantum technology combined with Arxian stellar engineering could stabilize your sun within months." The Council members studied the calculations, their expressions shifting from skepticism to hope. One by one, they nodded in agreement. "Perhaps," Vex mused, "this crisis was necessary, not to prove our capacity for war, but to demonstrate our potential for peace." She turned to Natasha and Calyx. "Your actions here will be recorded in both our histories. And your recommendation for future human-Arxian relations?" Natasha and Calyx exchanged glances, then joined hands once more, their thoughts and emotions flowing together as one. "We recommend the establishment of a joint quantum sciences division," they spoke in unison. "Not to develop weapons, but to explore the full potential of our combined knowledge. Today we prevented a war, tomorrow, we could reshape stars, heal planets, and reach further into the cosmos than either of our species dreamed possible." As the Council deliberated, Natasha and Calyx stood together, their fingers intertwined. Through their connection, they shared not just thoughts but a vision of the future, one where the boundaries between their species faded in the light of shared discovery and understanding. The chamber's crystalline walls pulsed with new patterns, reflecting not fear or hostility, but hope. Above Earth, weapons platforms powered down as new orders spread through both fleets. And in a laboratory that would soon be built between the worlds, humans and Arxians would work side by side, turning the tools of war into instruments of creation. For in the end, it wasn't weapons or technology that saved their civilizations, it was the simple truth that love, understanding, and the courage to trust could bridge even the vast distances between the stars.